The Archdiocese of Seattle has released 77 names of priests and others accused of sexually abusing children. Archbishop Peter Sarton says they made the names public in an effort to promote transparency and healing. King 5's Allison Morrow has more.
It's absolutely our duty to reestablish trust among those who have been abused, those who have been harmed because they realize that members of our clergy breached a sacred trust. It's our responsibility to reestablish that trust.
This is a letter written by the Archbishop in which he says, "I express my deepest apologies. Half of the people on the list are deceased, and as for the ones who are still alive, the Archdiocese says it doesn't know where most are today." Many of the clergy are well known to attorneys who have represented abuse survivors. One of them, who settled more than 150 claims, says he wants all the files kept on these religious leaders.
Only the Archbishop would know that. But I think if the Archbishop did decide to do something differently and do something more transparent, I think that's great. Again, my message to the Archbishop would be release the files and finish the job.
Allison Morrow, King 5 News.
The Archdiocese is asking any other survivors of abuse to call their hotline and say they are committed to helping them heal.
It's a major revelation coming from the Archdiocese of Seattle today. The names of 77 clergy or religious people who have admitted to sexual abuse or have credible allegations against them. Tom Yazwinski live tonight in Seattle with more on this 2-year investigation that resulted in today's bombshell, which is extremely unusual, Tom.
Yeah, David, I have the list of all 77 names right here. It's an investigation that goes back almost 100 years. People placed within high positions of trust within the church and abused their powers to sexually abuse children. The letter from Archbishop Sarton starts with a humble "I'm sorry," saying, quote, "I express my deepest apologies for the actions of those who were in positions of trust and who violated that sacred trust by abusing the vulnerable in their care." The Archbishop follows the apology with a list of 77 people who abused children and then hid behind the cover of the cross, people no longer with the church.
There is no clergy, no religious, and no volunteers or employees of the Archdiocese of Seattle who have allegations of child sexual abuse.
The Archdiocese says the list is its way of being transparent, but there are a number of skeptics.
I'm glad they released these names, but one question would be, why did it take so long? And the second question would be, if the effort is true transparency, I think the file should be released.
Mike Fow represents dozens of victims of sexual abuse at the hands of clergy within the diocese. He feels more predators and victims exist.
I think what's important is that people who've been abused by these priests know that they're not alone.
I think that any time a predator is exposed, children are safer.
Mary Dispenza is a local advocate for those abused by priests. She was abused when she was just 7 years old and says some people never recover.
In some cases, victims have mental issues. They're unable to work. They've fallen into drugs and alcohol, and their whole life has been totally destroyed.
She worries there are numerous cases still out there yet to see the light of day.
It concerns me that I don't think there's a culture within the priesthood of telling on one another. And I think there should be.
Both Dispenza and Fow, who you just heard from, want more information on these 77 people. They want complete files, including pictures. The diocese says this is just a step in their transparency, and they hope by releasing this list, more people will come forward. We're live in Seattle. Tom Yazwinski, Q13 News.
The Archdiocese posted this information on their website saying, if you are a victim of child sexual abuse or suspect abuse by clergy or anyone working on behalf of the church, you may report it to our pastoral outreach coordinator at 1-800-446-7762 or email hotline@seattlearch.org. But keep in mind, advocates for sexual abuse victims say if you were a victim, call police first.